Good evening. You're watching Insight on NewsX. I'm Neha Khanna. Our big focus tonight. It's a country that uses terror as an instrument of state policy. It's a country which is hell-bent on bleeding its neighbor by 1,000 cuts. It's a country that's incorrigible and refuses to mend its ways no matter how many peace gestures you make. It's a country that brazenly violates the human rights of its own people. And it's a country which has a rogue army that has no compunction in acting with utter brutality, barbarity and savagery. A country that believes neither in humanism nor in any international convention of law and justice. By killing, brutalizing, mutilating our jawans, Pakistan has once again demonstrated to the world that it's a rogue country that has no regard for any norm of civility and that deserves to be treated like a pariah state. India is extremely anguished and furious. People want justice. They want to see a heavy and punitive cost imposed on Pakistan. They want the rogue country to be taught a lesson. And as the Indian government and the army strategize and weigh their options, the question we are asking tonight is this. As Pakistan crosses all limits, is it time for India to up the ante and not just isolate Pakistan globally, but in fact go a step further and insist that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir be handed back to us?
It has made people's life living hell. We have ensured free and fair governance. From making what they legally occupied a base for terror camps, to grabbing the lands of residents. Pakistan has unleashed the worst from atrocities in PoK, as we pull all stops for the development of Kashmir.
हम चाहते हैं कि भारत के साथ हमारे ताल्लुकात बेहतर हों, खास तौर पर जम्मू और कश्मीर का मसला है। हम चाहते हैं कि उस पर भी कश्मीरी जो अवाम है उनकी उमंगों के मुताबिक ये मसला भी हल होना चाहिए।
पाकिस्तान के नाजायज कब्जे वाले जम्मू कश्मीर के हिस्से को पाकिस्तान के कब्जे से मुक्त करा करके भारतीय गणराज्य का हिस्सा बना करके जम्मू कश्मीर को उसके ओरिजिनल स्वरूप में फिर से बहाल करना, इसके अतिरिक्त और कोई विषय नहीं।
Today, despite indulging in the brutal act of mutilating our soldiers at the line of control, Pakistan continues to preach and take the high moral ground. But the harsh reality of PoK, the truth, the line of control is nothing but a ceasefire line continues to haunt Islamabad. From running a sham government to denying fundamental rights to making it a terror base, Pakistan has time and again been questioned and concerned over its actions in PoK.
Every 10 days, the number of arrests and human rights violations that are taking place. So obviously, it's an issue that is a live and real issue, and India has to find ways and means of addressing it.
अगर ये सिर नहीं आए तो उनके तो 10 सिर आए। सवाल ये है कि हम बिल्कुल प्रतिक्रिया के अलावा बैठे रहें और खेल खिलाते रहें और वार्ता करते रहें, ये तो नहीं होगा। कम से कम एक ताकतवर सरकार की प्रतिक्रिया तो हम दें।
The message from India has been loud and clear. PoK is a part of Jammu and Kashmir. It is ours. But coward Pakistan has stooped to a new low in the past few months, even selling tilted Pakistan to China for the economic corridor, if gifting Karakoram tract wasn't bad enough.
While Pakistan is busy setting up terror pads in occupied Kashmir, India has its eyes firmly set on the development matrix. From building Asia's longest tunnel to rolling out an 80,000 crore Vikas package for mainstreaming Kashmir, the Modi government is leaving no stones unturned to ensure that Kashmir gets back on the track very soon. Isn't it time then that we stake claim to what is rightfully ours? Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Saurabh Sanyal, NewsX.
Well, so is it time for us to demand that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir be handed back to India? That is one of the main questions we're going to look at tonight. To discuss that, I'm now joined here in the studio by Ambassador Shiv Shankar Mukherjee, former diplomat, Colonel V.N. Thapar, defense expert, also here with me in the studio. We're also joined by BJP spokesperson Amit Malviya, Ashok Pandit, a filmmaker and a Kashmiri Pandit, joining us from Mumbai. A bit later on the show, we're also hoping to be joined by Irfan Hafiz Lone, a lawyer and activist in Srinagar. All right, let me go straight across to my guest here in the studio. Ambassador Mukherjee, I'll start with you. There are so many aspects of this that are disturbing and that need to be addressed. People are asking, how do you deal with a rogue country that will not think twice before indulging in medieval barbarism? How do you impose punitive costs on a country like Pakistan? Many are tonight even talking about whether India needs to do more to perhaps dismember Pakistan, given what's happening in Baluchistan and so many other parts of the country. One question we want to focus on tonight is it time for India to up the ante and perhaps also now make a demand for Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to be returned to us? What's your take?
You know, I can't but get a very, very strong sense of deja vu. The question you asked has been repeated endlessly in India among the people, among the media, among our politicians from 1947. And after every act of Pakistan's one-point policy of causing as much harm to India as possible, we go into that same debate. Forget 47, after the 1,000 cuts policy of Pakistan and Zia al-Haq, starting from 1990, we've had, even forgetting the daily infiltrations and killings on the line of control and the international border as well, we've had Mumbai, we've had Kargil, we've had Uri, we've had Pathankot, and every time we start that debate again, we've had the beheadings before as well. We've had barbarism from the Pakistani army time and time again.
Absolutely.
And the same debate starts again. So let me really, without sounding too cynical, get into one or two important points.
Right.
One or two, as I see it, these are personal opinions. Firstly, please forget about the candlelit vigils on the border or even talks about talks and so on and so forth, and that everybody should be for peace. We are all for peace, like for motherhood, but we should recognize that in the foreseeable future, and I'm talking of at least 2 generations, there will not be friendly relations between Pakistan and India, because Pakistan is in the charge of an establishment, which is the army and the ISI, which sees India as a permanent enemy, and which sees its own comfortable existence as based on enmity of India. Otherwise, the people of Pakistan would reject them. Point number 1.
Correct.
Point number 2, the maximum we can hope for is a situation not of war or permanent conflict. The best that can be hoped for is what I call, what diplomats call a situation of cold peace, something like what happens between Egypt and Israel after their peace treaty. You don't like each other, but because out of sheer exhaustion or out of various diplomatic and other efforts, you've learned to not inflict actually harm on each other. You in an unfriendly way, you learn to coexist. That's the best that can be hoped for.
Right.
And even that will not be achieved, my final point, until India acknowledges that Pakistan will come to that situation only under the pain of punishment.
Absolutely.
Third and final point. And finally, all I can say, I don't have the answers to this. I doubt if there are facile answers from everybody, starting from dismemberment of Pakistan to, to the soft options of continuing and engaging with talks and somehow find out some peaceful constituency in Pakistan that won't work.
Right.
Finally, all I can say is, at the present moment in India, we've got a government that has a substantial majority in the Lok Sabha, that is politically extremely strong within the country, even outside Delhi,
and that has
which is not therefore constrained with coalition politics. Hopefully, therefore, they have the ability, and we have a strong Prime Minister who has that majority. Hopefully, they will be able to take the tough decisions that are necessary. I mean, that's all I want to say.
And that is the big question. Will we see those tough decisions being taken? Of course, there were the surgical strikes that happened last year, but of course, most seem to think now that those surgical strikes were not an enough of a deterrent, given the host of terror strikes that we've seen even after those surgical strikes. All right, let me now go to Colonel Thapar. Sir, the question really is this. Ambassador Mukherjee talks about how perhaps there should be some sort of coexistence between the two countries, even if you are talking
I didn't
about
say there
coexistence.
should be.
I think
That's the best that you can hope
That's
for.
the best that you can
hardly
hope
the
for.
day that we should
But
be
the
talking about
problem is,
coexistence.
exactly, the problem is, Colonel Thapa, that here's a country that wants to bleed you by 1,000 cuts. Here's a country that will not think twice before inflicting barbarism and savagery on your soldiers. I think the one point which is made even by the ambassador is that the time for candlelight vigils is over, the time for bleeding hearts is over. You, somebody who's lost a loved one thanks to this hostile country. The question is, sir, what is the way forward? Would it be too far-fetched for India to, at this stage, as I asked at the outset, up the ante and say we want Pakistan-occupied Kashmir to be back on the table, if at all there's going to be any discussion on Kashmir?
Well, first of all, I must say that today we are convulsed, by the barbaric act that has come in front of us. We are their sworn enemies. So we can expect this kind of a thing from them on our people, on our men. But they do the same on their own people.
Their own people.
Their own people.
Balochistan, Baluchistan.
I've seen videos in Balochistan where they kick the man's brains out.
Good Lord.
So that is a kind of barbarism. That
Or
is
even
going
the
on.
way minorities are persecuted in that country.
I mean,
Right.
one can understand that they have this built-up hatred against India for reasons best known to them.
Right.
But having a hatred for your own people to an extent that you just kill the people and you just dump them. You know about the policy of kill and dump.
Yes.
That is there in, they just kill a man, put him in a helicopter or in a gadi,
Right.
just take him some...
As a matter
kilometers
of fact, for them, even their soldiers are cannon fodder, sir. Half the time, they refuse to even take back their bodies.
Yes, it happened in
During Kargil.
During
Absolutely.
Kargil. Now, the other point I want to say is that we can all talk about asking for the PoK,
All of Kashmir, yes.
PoK and all these things. Well said. And the ambassador has correctly pointed out that we've got a strong government in the center with a huge majority and they
Right.
can take decisions.
Right.
But who's going to execute that decision? That military, this is a military problem.
Right.
The military has to take this decision, execute this decision.
So is the time over for a diplomatic offensive?
No, I think it's long over.
All right.
It's, with a person like Basit, I mean, he will know the nuances of the
Right.
diplomatic. I don't know, why is he here? What
We
progress?
should have sent him packing by now.
Yes, and what progress can even Pakistan think that we will make in our relations with them
Right.
with a person like him there?
All right.
So that's what I want to say, that the execution of whatever tough decisions
Right.
the government takes will lie on the shoulders of the armed forces.
Absolutely.
So it is not so important. It is very important for the government to be very
Right.
strong, but it is even more important for the armed forces to be terribly strong.
Right. But sir, at the end of the day, the army has to take its orders from the government of the day.
They take the government, but
Yes.
with what are you going to execute that? Do you know that the budget given allotment
Has been slashed.
has been the lowest ever since 1947?
That's
till
something
date?
a lot
Now,
of army men have
what do
talked
you-
about.
What do
Yes.
you want to do with that?
And a lot of questions raised
And
about our preparedness.
that's what-
Correct.
that's
So
the
let
point
me
I'm
take
making.
that to the rest of the panel and I'll come back to you. Amit Malviya, coming at this point, you heard what our panelists here said. They believe that if anyone can take strong punitive action against Pakistan, it is the Narendra Modi government, because this government enjoys a brute majority. The Prime Minister enjoys immense popularity in this country. And this is a government that has been talking tough on Pakistan, not just since the day they came to power, but even since the days when they were in the opposition. We heard what Sushma Swaraj said while she was leader of the opposition when they talked about bringing back 10 heads for one. Let me also bring your attention, Amit Malviya, to what the Foreign Affairs Minister said in Lok Sabha only recently.
Neha,
She said,
may I disturb you for 1 second?
go ahead, sir.
You know, this business of getting 10 heads, it is not in our army's culture.
It is not,
No, it's
because
not.
this is the
So,
kind of
we can kill.
medieval
We can
barbarism
we'll kill
that
10,
you
20
associate
times.
with ISIS,
I mean,
you associate associated with the Taliban, and unfortunately now you're associated with the Pakistan army.
yeah.
Fortunately, ours is a civilized and professional army that does not indulge in these kind of acts of barbarism.
Sorry
but of
to-
course,
sorry to-
because people are angry in this country, therefore you do hear these kind of statements emanating, and this is something that we've heard even Sushma Swaraj say in the past. Amit Malviya, come in at this point. Firstly, as I said, we've heard leaders like Sushma Swaraj talk about bringing 10 heads for one. And therefore, the people of this country do expect your government to take a strong stand on this issue today. Secondly, Sushma Swaraj also said recently in the Lok Sabha that if at all Kashmir is going to be on the table, what we are going to talk about is taking back Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Nothing else is going to be on the negotiating table. Is that something that India and the NDA government can realistically consider?
Well, Neha, let me first put the Kashmir problem in context. We're talking about 3 districts out of the 22 in the whole of Jammu and Kashmir, which is in the grip of these separatist elements. Of the total population, perhaps less than 10% people are from the community that dominates the separatist narrative, and even within that, it's a handful of them who take to streets and who take to violence to do these kind of things. So really, J&K has a lot more variety in terms of culture, in terms of people, in terms of demography, which is not aligned to the separatist movement. Therefore, the problem that we have to address is localized.
Whole Kashmir is burning.
Sorry,
We come to you, Mr. Lone. We come to you. Amit Malviya, if you could specifically answer the question about what it is that you think the NDA government has the stomach and the will to do at this stage, because as we've been saying, the time for bleeding hearts, the time for candlelight visuals is long over. People want action.
Absolutely. So Neha, having put the Kashmir problem in context, let me just outline what our government has done. And what we are seeing right now is basically a manifestation of the strong-willed steps that this government has taken. Because things are moving towards normalization in Kashmir, we are seeing the separatist elements get unnerved and try to unsettle the peace that is coming onto the valley, and they're doing all kinds of things that we today see. Now, you're absolutely right. Our government is absolutely convinced that it is going to solve this problem. It has taken the tough decision of conducting surgical strikes. It has taken the tough decision of ensuring that fruits of development reach Kashmir, even though the separatist elements do not want that to happen.
But
we are speaking
Amit, you will agree we have a very difficult situation on our hands. It's all very well to talk about what the government has done for the people of Kashmir, but you would agree it's a very, very tough situation
we are
have
going
on
to
our
have
hands.
a difficult situation
And you
on
have a
hand.
very, very
Because if you are
hostile
doing
neighbor.
something that is going to disrupt the conflict economy that has been there for about 30 years and which has benefited a whole host of people, of course we are going to be faced with difficult situation. And our government is very much in control of things. We are going to resolve the issue, and you have to be patient.
Well, I can tell you one thing, Amit Malviya. Absolutely, I understand that we cannot find an answer within 24 hours, but you will appreciate the country is watching you, they're watching your government, and it's every move very, very closely, because there's a lot of anger right now. We don't want to indulge in warmongering. We don't want to indulge in warmongering here, Amit Malviya. We don't want to be studio gladiators, but yes, there is a lot of anger.
Of us, and we are quite committed to deliver on
All right. All right, Amit, I need to get in my other panelists into this debate. Ashok Pandit, come in here. Of course, there are many aspects to this debate. We don't have enough time to discuss them all. The question we are asking tonight is it time for India to up the ante and demand now that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir be handed back to us, especially given what Pakistan has done to that area, whether it is the atrocities that are being committed against the people of Gilgit-Baltistan, or whether it's the fact that large tracts of land have been practically gifted to China.
Neha, everybody wants that PoK should be and is a part of India. There is no two opinions on that. But I have a habit of not speaking lies to myself. The reality today is that the enemies are beating us in our own homes. They are not beating us in Pakistan. They are beating us in our own homes. The visuals of, in your earlier program, I saw the families of these martyrs talking to you. And if the politics of this country if the politicians of this country belonging to all political parties would have heard what Paramji's brother said, his sister said, his father said, all those people when they spoke, that is the reality which we have to understand. The tragedy of this country now is not PoK. The tragedy of this country is that my soldier is running with a pistol, with a gun on the street in India, and a stone thrower is following him and beating him black and blue. The tragedy of the country today, which has to be sorted out, that when the soldier is coming home after his death, after getting martyred, the family of that soldier is unable to see him because his body has been mutilated. He is headless. I think that is more important to be sorted out than thinking of PoK and other parts. The problem is
and therefore,
human rights activists of this country who have opposed the pellet guns in this country. The opposition to pellet guns has taken the situation so bad.
But fact of the matter is, there has been outrage expressed over pellet guns, but at the same time there is tremendous outrage in the country today, Ashok Pandit, over the beheading of our jawans. I don't think there's anyone who is willing to really condone what Pakistan has done here. But let me take your question to Irfan Hafiz Loan, who now joins us from Srinagar. Irfan Loan, respond to what Ashok Pandit there said. You know, that while on the one hand we're dealing with a very, very hostile neighbor like Pakistan that wants to continue to bleed India, on the other hand, there are separatist voices, the stone pelters in the Kashmir Valley who are making things very difficult for our security forces. While you have a security operation underway, you have people throwing stones at our security personnel.
Neha, this is the ground reality. That's why we say Kashmir is a very complex issue. You see, we fought 3 wars. We have seen this 27-year-old turmoil. Day in and day out, we see bloodbath. Now we have to see what's the way out. And I believe that way out is only dialogue. Because,
but Irfan Loan, how do you talk to a neighbor that is inflicting so much brutality on your people? I take your point that under normal circumstances we should open a dialogue with Pakistan. Ultimately, maybe that is the solution. But given Pakistan's conduct, how do you talk to them? They are brutalizing our jawans. They are beheading our jawans. How do you talk to Pakistan?
Madam, I am saying, Universal Declaration on Human Rights, Article 5 provides no confidentiality.
Okay, gentlemen, I need to wrap up this debate. I will come to you for quick closing comments. Quick closing comments, Ashok Pandit. Ashok Pandit, quick closing comments.
I didn't interrupt you.
Mr. Loan, Mr. Loan, we're running out of time. I need to go around the table and take closing comments.
Who understands the language of violence, who understands the language of terrorism, who understands the language of killing, who understands the language of anti-nationalism.
Gentlemen, no one can be heard right now.
But the both countries are involved in brazen violations.
Rebut what you're hearing. 20 seconds is all you have. Amit Malviya, quickly.
Look, Neha, all that I would say is that this government is committed to bringing normalcy in Kashmir. We are going to take very tough decisions. In fact, some of the decisions that have been taken cannot be spoken about in the public domain.
Fair enough.
The kind of disruption that we are seeing in the valley is manifestation of the fact that it is fast moving to a normalcy. We're speaking to the people of Kashmir directly. We're engaging with them, and that's what is unnerving people who are invested in the conflict economy. Separatists who are acting at the behest of the neighbor. But I can tell you over a period of time, they are unlikely to succeed, and India will be reunited. And as the External Affairs Minister said, the only thing that is up for discussion on the table is the Pakistan-occupied
Kashmir,
which is under illegal occupation of the neighboring country.
Illegal occupation of Pakistan, but how soon can that really happen still remains the million-dollar question. And of course, we have a lot to deal with, even within our own Kashmir, Amit Malviya. That is something that the government cannot afford to ignore. Last word to you, Ambassador Mukherjee. Sum this up for us. This is, of course, a very, very intractable issue. How do you deal with a neighbor like this, especially given the current circumstances? Are diplomatic options at the moment over? Can we only look at military options at this point?
Not at all. Diplomatic initiatives are never over. I actually can't understand why we have to have a policy that is only one compartmentalized policy. Our diplomatic efforts can and should continue, as I'm sure our government will. The pressure, the international pressure that we bring on Pakistan should continue and be energized much, much more, because, you know, world opinion has changed towards Pakistan. Frankly, countries are not going to come rushing to our aid. They are not going to maybe even lean on Pakistan, but the opinions of these countries are changing, including in the United States.
At the end of the day, we have to be realistic. This
yes,
is a war we have to fight.
No, my point is that that should continue, but we must at the same time, there's no need to stop one and stop the other. It's not a tap we turn on and off.
Right.
That must continue, but that must be buttressed by other actions, overt and covert. Those are entirely in our hands, with the knowledge that this heavy lifting has to be done by us alone.
And no one else can do it for
That's
us.
it.
This is a job India has to do for itself. Ambassador Mukherjee, thanks very much for joining us. And I'd like to thank the rest of my panel as well for making the time and joining us on this debate. This is, of course, a very, very complex issue. People across the country are very angry and they want answers. More than anything else, what people are saying today is that it can no longer be business as usual. We'll, of course, have to wait and see what's going to change on the ground. That's it from me then. Thanks for watching.